when you have a dream and the dream isn't something you dream and then it happens, the dream is something you never knew was going to come into your life. Dreams always come from behind you, not right between your eyes. It sneaks up on you. But when you have a dream, it doesn't often come at you screaming in your face, this is who you are. This is what you must be for the rest of your life. Sometimes a dream almost whispers. And I've always said to my kids, the hardest thing to listen to, your instincts, your human personal intuition, always whispers. It never shouts. Very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your lives, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear. It very rarely shouts. And if you can listen to the whisper, and if it tickles your heart, and it's something you think you want to do for the rest of your life, then that is going to be what you do for the rest of your life.
Daily, you have to prime yourself. You have to do something for 10 minutes minimum. If you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. I mean, you gotta do it, right?
That's good. If you don't have 10 minutes,
you don't have a life
to give to priming yourself.
That's right.
You
and
don't
if
have
you
a
want a prime life, you want a beautiful life, you want a beautiful family.
Oh, I love that you say that.
But I do. It's the first time I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
People always ask me, how do you so up all the time? But part of it is I attend all these seminars.
Yes.
I teach all this. But the real reason is
you prime yourself.
I prime myself. That's what I've done for years. It's like I change my body with this radical breathing pattern or movement. There's many ways to do it. But then I do 10 minutes, and it usually goes more because I'm enjoying it. But 10 minutes is how I get myself to do it. 3.5 minutes of pure gratitude about 3 things. And I pick one of those 3 to be simple, because I don't want to be the astronaut that, he went to the moon, that was his idea of adventure, and then they all come back and were depressed because what do I do for the rest of my life? So the wind in my face, my children's faces, anything. And the reason for gratitude is the 2 emotions that mess us up the most are fear and anger.
Yeah.
And you can't be grateful and fearful simultaneously. They don't go together. And you can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. So if you literally start your day cultivating that, this is the part I was talking about, creating a highway to happiness. And then I do 3 minutes of my 3 to thrive. What are 3 outcomes or results I'm really committed to, and I see them as done and fulfilled. And in 10
for
minutes,
that day?
I usually look at something at 6 months to 12 months out. Wow. Something that's a little bigger. And then what I feel is fulfilled and done, and I give thanks for it. And you're at the end of those 10 minutes, and usually it's 15 or 18 for me, I am so wired. Now, I've done that for years. It's been the base of me. What's different with suffering is measuring it moment to moment over. And then the third one for me is, okay, how do I love more? Because love to me is an action. It's not a word. It's not an emotion. It's like, if you love, you act accordingly. So love, and what can I do in a loving way, and then what can I be grateful for? And that little 3-step process ends the suffering.
You will have good days and you'll have bad days, but you will always learn something more or something new, and you will learn more overall on bad days than good days. You will learn more about yourself, you'll learn more about relationships, you'll learn about life and principles, and it'll build your character. If you're a person who wants to, let's say, improve on your character of patience, let's say, don't complain when you're waiting in a line. You ain't going to grow in patience until you're put in a place to wait. It's like you go into a gym and, you're walking through the front doors and, you tell your wife or your husband, I'm going to the gym. You go into the gym and you come in 3 feet and you do a U-turn and you ride out, I went to the gym. Ain't gonna do nothing. You gotta go in there. What are you gonna do? You gotta pick up the weights and you exercise the muscles that you want to build. I stand before you without arms and legs, but a very strong man because of the bad days in my life. You know how it is. If you didn't go what you've gone through, you wouldn't be who you are today. And I'm not belittling your pain, and don't worry, I've seen pain in my life, and I've seen not only in my life, but people's lives, and people say, well, at least I have no arms, no legs, and then what am I supposed to say? Well, at least I'm not an African orphan who's dying at 4 years old, and I met that person. What about the 10-year-old girl that was bought for $700 US in Mumbai and kidnapped as a sex slave to have 350 clients before the age of 13, pregnant at 12, put the baby under the bed while she works on top, abandoned by her family? After she pays her debt of $700 US after 3 years with her child, she leaves on the streets of Mumbai hoping for a new life. No family, no job, no food. Her baby needs food. She gets raped, beaten up on the street. She comes back to the only way that she knows how to make money. She goes back to the brothels. She gets pregnant at 15 the second time, and then that child dies, and then 20 years old, she comes up to me. Yes, I have met this woman. She comes up crying. She says, Nick, I just found out I got HIV/AIDS. I got fired from being a prostitute. What do you say to that? You may have arms and legs, but unless you know 3 things. Number 1, who are you and what your value is? Number 2, what is your purpose here in life? And number 3, what is your destiny when you're done here? If you don't know the answers of any of those 3 questions, you're more disabled than I.
The challenge for our generation is to create a world where everyone has a sense of purpose. One of my favorite stories is when JFK went to go visit the NASA Space Center, and he saw a janitor holding a broom, and he asked him what he was doing, and the janitor replied, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon." Purpose is that feeling that you are a part of something bigger than yourself, that you are needed, and that you have something better ahead to work for. Purpose is what creates true happiness. Every generation has its defining works. More than 300,000 people worked to put that man on the moon, including that janitor. Millions of volunteers immunized children around the world against polio, and millions of more people built the Hoover Dam and other great projects. And now it's our generation's turn to do great things. Now I know, maybe you're thinking, I don't know how to build a dam. I don't know how to get 1 million people involved in anything. Well, let me tell you a secret. No one does when they begin. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. If I had to know everything about connecting people before I got started, I never would have built Facebook. An entrepreneurial culture thrives when it is easy to try lots of new ideas. Facebook wasn't the first thing I built. I also built chat systems and games, study tools and music players, and I'm not alone. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before she finally wrote and published Harry Potter. Even Beyoncé had to make hundreds of songs to get Halo. The greatest successes come from having the freedom to fail.
If you have an idea that you genuinely think is good, don't let some idiot talk you out of it. I'm going to tell you how Spider-Man came into being. It's a true story, although sometimes it's hard even for me to believe it. But we had already done the Fantastic Four and I think maybe the X-Men, I can't remember the order, but my publisher came to me and he said, Stan, I want you to come up with another superhero. So I said, okay, and I went home, and when my publisher said do something, I'd better do it because I wanted to keep my job. I thought, what can I come up with now? And the most important thing in a superhero at first is the superpower. Once you get that, everything else comes along. So I thought, what power will I give a new guy? And I saw a fly crawling on the wall. And I said, hey, if I could get a superhero that could stick to walls and crawl on them, man, that would be cool. And no, I'm lying to you. I don't think the word cool was in use then. I probably said it'll be groovy. I'll never lie to you. So I thought that was good. Now I needed a name. So I thought, let's see, Fly Man, Mosquito Man. I got down to Spider-Man. Spider-Man. It just sounded dramatic. So okay, I had my hero, I had his power, his name, and then I figured just for fun, I'm gonna give him personal problems. Because except for you people who are that your lives are perfect, but most other people have personal problems. And then I thought I'd make him a teenager, because there were no teenage superheroes that I knew of at the time. So armed with all that wonderful material, those great ideas, I ran into my publisher's office and I told him. This was my reaction, the reaction he gave me. Stan, that is the worst idea I have ever heard. First of all, and he started to give me his, because he's a very logical man, very intellectual. First of all, people hate spiders, so you can't call a hero Spider-Man. You want him to be a teenager? Teenagers can only be sidekicks. And you want him to have personal problems? Stan, don't you know what a superhero is? They don't have personal problems. Well, I left the office disappointed, but obviously a much wiser man. And I couldn't get Spider-Man out of my system. So we were about to kill a magazine. I think it was called Amazing Fantasy. It wasn't selling well, and we were sending the last issue to press. When you do the last issue of a magazine, nobody cares what you put in it because the book is dying. Just to get it out of my system, I put Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy, featured him on the cover, forgot about it. A month later, all the sales figures came in. My publisher came racing into my office. Stan, you remember that character we both loved so much, Spider-Man? He said, let's do him as a series. Now, why am I telling you this? Besides the fact that I have to kill a little time. If you have an idea that you genuinely think is good, don't let some idiot talk you out of it. Now, that doesn't mean that every wild notion you come up with is going to be genius, but if there is something that you feel is good, something you want to do, something that means something to you, try to do it. Because I think you can only do your best work if you're doing what you want to do, and if you're doing it the way you think it should be done, and if you can take pride in it after you've done it, no matter what it is. If you can look at it and say, I did that, and I think it's pretty damn good. That's a great feeling. So don't let idiots talk you out of something that you think is good. By the same token, that doesn't mean every single thing you think is good is going to win a prize. Got to have a little judgment there. Do your thing, do it as well as that's the important thing. Don't shirk. Whatever you do, give it your best shot. You'll be glad you did.